Greetings, kindred. The energies building up to the new moon right now are very, very intense, so just take caution and beware because it's going to stir up a lot of emotional stuff. So since the full moon, the energies have basically escalated, and I do remember at the full moon saying, that I normally promote the feminine energy, but at that particular time I was promoting the masculine because I felt that some of us really did need to get into our self-power and stand up for ourselves. And funny enough, I haven't been exempt from that, so wow. It's been a very interesting time to say the least. So now we're coming up to the new moon, and I feel like the full moon's energy is basically reaching its peak. It's now where we're finally letting go of all that and starting a new journey. But this time, this journey is coming from such a strong sense of willpower. And we'll be discussing that more. So the new moon will actually begin on the 6th of October. I'm recording this on the 5th. And the new moon will begin in the sign of Virgo in the true lifetime sky at 12:05 in the GMT time zone, at 7:05 in the EDT time zone, and at 22:05 in the AEDT time zone. Now the moon in Virgo is normally a bit of a backseat energy. He just likes to get his head into anything intricate, and but he can become very obsessed with detail. So in a sense, it's kind of common fact that the moon in Virgo can sometimes be over analytical and fail to see the bigger picture. But I'm not really getting that with this particular moon in Virgo. I'm getting that we're very much aware of what's really kind of stirring up inside of us, or even collectively, globally. We're very aware of what's firing us up at the moment. And the energy of this new moon is actually going to be very, very triggering. And I say that because we got a double yod aimed at the Moon, Sun, Mars and Mercury that were all conjunct in Virgo. So basically our new moon is part of a little stellium. Now the good news is that we have this beautiful grand trine in an earth sign, so it's an earth trine. Now, normally I'm very wary of trines or, grand trines anyway, because they can tend to make us lazy and take things for granted. But in this respect, I feel it's more about grounding. And, this grand trine is between our sun, moon, the goddess Ceres, and Saturn, who's retrograding in Capricorn at 7 degrees. Now I'm going through a Saturn return. My Saturn in my natal is at 7 degrees Capricorn. So, for the whole of this year I've been feeling like I'm walking through mud. Everything's been slow and heavy. But I'm glad to say I'm coming towards the end of that now, this year, and I'll be entering into my Jupiter return next year. So hopefully I will be on time with my readings, I will be on time with my reports, and I can get a lot more going on. Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. So, this grand trine is all about us bringing into balance our masculine with our feminine. So we're all coming into our self-power at the moment, or most of us are, because I'm seeing here there's still a lot of shadow energy going on. But for those that are in a place of shadow, those that haven't dealt with their insecurities or old wounds of the past, they're very much going to be triggered this new moon. And it's where do you want to take it? You know, that's what you got to consider first. Don't just be impulsive and snap and jump into things. If you're going to act with integrity. Because yes, we do need to stand up and speak our minds, but we need to do that from a place of integrity. And, you know, like I said, I'm seeing a double yod here as well. With the Black Moon, Lilith, Uranus. They're both in sextile to Neptune and the goddess Pallas. But they're all in quincunx to the Moon, Sun, Mars and Mercury. So that's very triggering. And with that little stellium in Virgo, that attitude is very judgmental and critical. But it can also be very empowering if it's coming from a place of self-awareness. And like I said, this beautiful Earth Grand Trine we got going on will give us the wisdom and the knowledge to focus on our integrity, on our inner strength, our inner temple. So, you know, the feminine energy is very much seeking peace right now. So I suggest like nature walks, meditation, you know, anything that rejuvenates the spirit. You know, because the goddess Ceres being in trine to Saturn here will give us the discipline to be able to follow, you know, a routine or a strategy, or just to slow down a bit and concentrate on our own well-being. Because the energies are very impulsive as well. But it's like in our way of thought, in our way of thinking. And that's especially so with Mercury involved. And Mercury is still in retrograde at the moment. You know, but he will be finishing his retrograde mode around the 18th of October. But we'll get into that in a minute. So, you know, what I really see here that stands out in the chart to me is this yod, double yod aspect. And also we have a T-square. Now the T-square is basically showing to me that there's going to be, you know, a lot of struggles or problems within our relationships. Or there's going to be financial strains that are going to put pressure on us. Not all of us, but some of us. And, you know, maybe some of us are struggling a little bit at the moment, but we're lashing out at others, you know what I mean? So that's where the integrity needs to come in. Because, like, there is this shadow of scarcity with the Black Moon Lilith, you know, flitting between Taurus and Aries. But, you know, at new moon, she's actually in Aries. So this is like the shadow around status or power. So, you know, there's a very controlling energy here, but there's also a very strong energy of like freeing ourselves from what holds us back, what keeps us stuck in the dark, you know, in that negative thinking. So regardless of what's going on, we must be in a place of peace where we can speak our minds, but it's not coming from a place of like, you know, jealousy or emotional frustration. So, you know, this new moon is going to be pretty intense. And on the same day as the new moon, Pluto will finish his retrograde through Sagittarius. Now Pluto's at 28 degrees at the moment. He was at 29 degrees when the retrograde first started. So he won't be shifting back till December to 29 degrees. And that will occur not long after the solar eclipse that will take place in the sign of Ophiuchus. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute as well. So as Pluto finishes his retrograde, he will be in square to Mercury retrograde and in trine to the goddess Ceres and the North Node. So, in square to Mercury in retrograde, it can be a little bit spiteful, a little bit obsessive. If we're stewing on things, then, we really need to free ourselves from that attitude or that way of thinking. And really, again, get in touch with our inner self-power, with our inner self-nurture. Because all those negative thoughts are coming from a place of insecurity within ourselves. And this can also be on a collective level. Now, the North Node will be at 9 degrees in Taurus, and the goddess Ceres is at 18 degrees, which breaks down to 9 in numerology. So, the goddess Ceres and the North Node in Taurus can give us the stability that we need to concentrate on our diets, how we nurture other people, but it can also be a very self-absorbed energy as well. So I do feel if we're feeling that, we need to break free of it. But, we've still got this beautiful grand earth trine going on throughout the day. And I think as long as we're trying to balance our own needs with others, or bring into balance our own masculine and feminine principles, like I said last time, we can stand up for ourselves, but we can do that with diplomacy and integrity. So, on the same day, Jupiter will actually retrograde back to 22 degrees in Capricorn. So this is all about, again, overcoming self-limitation when it comes to abundance. We all can be abundant. We just have to feel like we are in the first place. Fake it till you make it. I feel like I'm giving a lecture here, but I'm seeing all this stirring up, and also, all this is occurring in the media as well. I feel there's a lot coming out at the new moon, but it's going to be very triggering. And, that's going to be with the media, it's going to be within our relationships. So I would just say, move forwards with caution this new moon. And whatever is coming up, look at it and heal it. So the Black Moon Lilith, will be in opposition to Venus, who's in Libra. Now, Libra is a true ruler of the 8th house. And the 8th house is still about inheritances and taxes and stuff like that. And in Libra, it also rules the justice system. So, in opposition, it really is about financial strains and relationship issues, and relationship strains can tend to cause relationship issues as well. So, we just need to be aware of that. The beneficial thing we can do right now is to find our place of peace, our little God spot, whether it's in your garden or in a park, wherever your God spot is, just definitely go there and just, empty your mind, because I see a lot of overthinking going on this new moon, as Pluto retrograde comes to an end. So Saturn will end his retrograde on the 11th of October. Now, as he ends his retrograde, he will be in square to the goddess Vesta in Libra. So Saturn's really putting pressure on us to come into our self-power, to make decisions about where it is we want to go when it comes to our spirituality, when it comes to our well-being. But the goddess Vesta is in opposition to both Uranus and the Black Moon Lilith in Aries. So I really do feel that this is like something's going to trigger us into wanting to fight for our freedom. And not just to fight for our own personal freedom, but for the collective as well. And, they are forming a T-square against Saturn, who's in retrograde. Saturn, who's just coming out of retrograde, I should say. So this is really pushing us to make a stand, and it will put the pressure on the negative structures that are holding us down right now. And, Saturn will be in trine to the North Node and in sextile to the South Node. So, in trine to the North Node at 9 degrees in Taurus, there may be things we need to let go of as a collective. But these are old traditional ways that, although it may be painful for some, it will put pressure on us to find our strength and willpower within ourselves to stand up for justice, to stand up for the truth. And Mars will still be conjunct the Sun at this time. Mars has been conjunct the Sun since the full moon. And Mercury would have retrograded much closer to them. So that little stellium's still there, except for the moon will be in Ophiuchus. And this is fantastic for, groups, especially with the goddess Juno conjunct. So this is us really getting into our traditional organic values, our loyalty and self-respect. Because what we're being told externally and what we are aware of inwardly are kind of like in a battle at this particular time. And the moon and the goddess Juno will also be in sextile to Jupiter, who will still be at 22 degrees retrograde in Saturn. So, again, this particular time that we're going through in this new moon cycle is really to push us into a higher awareness, a higher consciousness, to see things as they are. So I really do feel that this is another awakening point that we are reaching. Or it's the point where those that have just recently awoken are beginning to see the bigger picture, are beginning to recognise the patterns, and are now coming into a different understanding. And I think the reason why people have lost their power over a period of time is because they've had to get their heads around, everything they thought they knew wasn't really the case. It wasn't really a reality. So now there is this fight for freedom going on, but it's going to be bigger than we've ever seen it before. And I think leading up to the solar eclipse in Ophiuchus, the energies will continue to escalate. So I haven't looked at all the charts, and I'm sure there will be points where we're given a break. But again, I always feel that this time of year is always more intense because all the planets come out of retrograde, they all go into forward direction. So, all the space and the reflection that we normally get throughout the summer months is now coming to an end, and it's time now to move forward. So we need to make sure we're doing that, not from a place of aggression, like I see a lot of aggressive tendencies this new moon, but from a place of integrity, wisdom, and self-respect. So Jupiter will end his retrograde on the 18th, as well as Mercury. So Saturn ends his retrograde on the 11th of October, Pluto ends his retrograde on the day of the new moon, and Jupiter ends his retrograde on the 18th of October alongside Mercury. Now as Jupiter comes out of retrograde, he'll be in trine to Mars and the Sun, who will still be in conjunction. He will also be in sextile to Venus. So I feel this is where things lighten up a bit around the 18th of October. Although, we still have the goddess Pallas in quincunx to Mercury, who will still be retrograde at the time Jupiter goes direct. So, this is still people trying to get their heads around the bigger picture. And, Jupiter in trine to the Sun and Mars is giving us the power and the confidence to break out of our shell. But we just need to make sure that we flow with ease. And I think this trine does give us an opportunity to come out of our shell with ease. And, we still have this beautiful grand trine going on, the Earth grand trine. But there will be this T-square towards the goddess Pallas, who I said is in quincunx to Mercury in retrograde. So, it's very hard because, with the goddess Pallas in Aquarius, it is all about higher consciousness, recognizing the patterns in life and throughout humanity. So this is very ancestral, this knowledge. And, it's very hard for some to get their heads around when they've been taught one thing, but now they're coming to realise something completely different. So again, this could be about spiritual values. It can be about traditions. It can be about, the care industries. So I feel there's going to be a big turn here or a big shift, and Black Moon Lilith will be conjunct the North Node and still in opposition to Venus. So again, I feel collectively there's a little bit of frustration there regarding our finances, and that is going to stir up a little bit of fear or a little bit of insecurity for some, but it will stir up an agitation for others. So we just need to be aware of that. So Mercury ends his retrograde a bit later in the day, and he will still be forming this grand trine, which is earth-based. I really do feel that many of us will really be able to take that time out and take some deep breaths, because this is all about breathing right now. Because the energies at the full moon were intense, and this new moon they're intense, but it's that energy where we can suffer from shallow breathing, if we're stressed. I definitely recommend getting out in nature and taking some deep, deep breaths. We don't need to follow the status quo. We are all intelligent beings. It's all about integrity and following your own guidance and following your own instincts. So some of us may feel a little bit lost on our life's path. But, you know, some of us are prone to self-sabotage as well. So I just say stay grounded as you can. So I don't mean to sound like I'm coming across as a lecturer. But I am really trying to give you a heads up of how intense things will become over the next few months leading up to this solar eclipse in Ophiuchus, which is going to be a biggie. You know, we're going to have a little stellium going on in the sign of Ophiuchus on the 4th of December. Now, the 4th of December is also my birthday, so I'm not sure whether I should be looking forward to that or not. I'm seeing this triple T-square, so this particular solar eclipse coming up is going to be very intense. Now, we do have a lunar eclipse beforehand in November in the sign of Taurus, and I will talk about the lunar and solar eclipse another time. But for the moment, I would say watch out for signs and synchronicities. Watch out for confusion and goalposts being changed. And most of all, keep the faith. Sending you all peace and much love.